What is up, Hexagons and Pulsinators? Welcome back to day 9, Pulsechain PulseX updates, everything you need to know. Pardon me if the sound cuts out. I actually have to hold my microphone now. The mic stand broke. Let's hop right into it. So let me hit refresh here on the Pulse Burn. As you guys come in, make sure you take a moment to smash that like button. Not only does it support the channel, but it also gets this information out to other people. So if you find my channel valuable, not a bad idea. So PLS is sitting at a little bit over a 2x. PLSX is about 5% over the SAC rate, and the bridge has processed 127 million out of 129 million. Great progress. A tweet from your friend Somni. Definitely got to follow this guy if you're not. And he posted out earlier there's a fake Twitter account scamming him. I think I have a Richard Hart tweet here. Richard Hart warning people about scams. There's a deep fake. It's basically like an artificial intelligence video. It looks like Richard Hart, and he's scamming people on Instagram. Richard Hart doesn't have an Instagram right now. So just a moment to make sure you guys are being patient, taking your time, and just being very careful because people are targeting Pulsechain right now with tons of scams. Why isn't Hex pumping? Why isn't PLS pumping? It could be because they're not ready. The first priority for Pulsechain is to release E token and P token farms. Right? The only yield farms on PulseX we have right now are pretty much Richard Hart based tokens and stablecoins. Right? We have DAI, Hex, we have eHex, pHex, we have the PLS, PLSX pair. But think about all these other ERC20 tokens that have yet to be created with liquidity pairs. This is going to bring over a lot of people in the DeFi ecosystem. Pardon me, we call them yield farmers. Whenever there's a new decentralized exchange like PulseX, they come over to that and they want yield. And there's a lot of yield right now on PulseX. Moving forward, Hex McKenzie put this out. I know that the PulseX pool rewards will diminish over time, which is okay and expected, but today Richard Hart said that farms will be over, ? Why is that? And if so, who will get all the ink rewards? I would always provide some PLSX and PLS regardless of how much APR it makes. So you see right now the yield farms are absolutely crazy, and if you guys aren't in these yield farms, you've already missed out on massive gains. The whales at the top are doubling their bags as we speak. The yield, 1,000% APR. My favorite one, the one I'm making the most money on, is DAI from Ethereum and Wrapped Pulse. That's 1,300% right now. I think it's at 1,500%. Not all the yield farms are going to end, but they do cycle some of them. So I'm not sure if Hex McKenzie or if I'm just not understanding them or if they had a misunderstanding. But you'll see yield farms cycle in and out, and there's this finish tab for a reason. Congratulations, guys. The second biggest blockchain in the world in only 9 days. Pulsechain has beat Binance Smart Chain. It's now the second most used blockchain on Earth. 50 billion PulseX to be burned soon. And this is just in 9 days, guys. Coinbase and Crypto.com already tracking PLS. 400 million 24-hour volume on PulseX, about to pass Sushi Swap. Still trending on Twitter, 3.5 million tweets for Pulsechain and PulseX. Ethereum has 800 million 24-hour volume in the number one chain. They did that in 8 years. We did it in 9 days. Now, something to keep in mind, not to just be a complete maxi here, but with the launch, I think we're going to see a lot of excitement, a lot of transactions. I'm interested to see in the next 2 weeks how this volume keeps up, if it's stable, if it goes back down a bit. But regardless, we have some wiggle room. 400 million 24-hour volume. The buy and burn on that, absolutely bonkers. Pulsechain overtook Binance on Dex Screener. This is what crisis mode looks like. So basically, on Binance, I don't know who, I'm not going to speculate, but some entity created 4 different pairs, and the liquidity is under $1. So these aren't real tokens, right? If there's no liquidity, it ain't real. And the volume on these is in the tens of millions. So people are speculating that Pulsechain overtaking Binance. Binance is basically creating these fake pairs to inflate their volume so that they can be the second ranked chain. I'm not going to speculate any more on that, but it was kind of interesting to see. And this is a great Twitter account, Whale Pulse. It's a bot. It just puts out notifications on when people bridge. And someone bridged 53 million hex from Ethereum to Pulsechain. And this just goes to show, why would you stake hex on Ethereum? I mean, if you're already staked, keep your stakes. But if you want to stake new hex, why not bridge it to Pulsechain and just pay a few pennies? This is the future. And what I was saying about Richard Hart deepfakes earlier, rags to riches with a banger right here. Take a listen.
This is important too, guys. This is a point that I'm not sure I've heard talked about. With the advent of AI, I would not trust any audio or video clips coming from any other source apart from Richard's official channels. Guys, have you seen what AI is capable of? And I'm going to tell you, man, there's wolves out there. They stop at nothing to extract value from you at almost any cost. Okay, so they will do deep fakes of Richard Hart, okay? And they will share it in their channels, and it will look legit. Do not trust anything. Do not trust anything that does not come from Richard. He is your first line of verification. If it comes from
Hashtag rags to riches was right. Right again. And this was 2 weeks ago, and Richard Hart tweets out today, beware of deepfakes. Just another reminder, be careful of the scams. T-Bird tweeted out, how the frick is this happening? And this incentive token, man, it's been fun to look at. Up 2,000% in just a few days. And people were speculating in this token, you know, you're farming this token out of nowhere, it doesn't really have utility yet. And you would think it's, you know, people are farming this just to dump it, maybe get more PLS, PLSX, Hex. But then I talked about this yesterday. A lot of people are also speculating, you know, Richard Hart has talked about wanting to create a wallet. You know, he has other projects that after Pulsechain's finished and it's, you know, they're at the final stages of finishing Pulsechain. What's he going to work on next? And will this incentive token have utility? We know Richard Hart is extremely high IQ, but when it comes to tokenomics, the guy doesn't miss. And this was interesting. A lot of Hexakins community members are on Twitter. If you're not, ignore this. But how does Twitter rank your tweets? NFT_GOD. If you guys want to understand how to do better in the Twitter algorithm, I'm a social media expert, but Twitter is one of these platforms that I've gotten hundreds of thousands, millions of followers on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but Twitter is something I've yet to crack. So if you guys want to learn more about this, I'm not going to go through this whole thread. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Maybe I'll retweet it. You can go to my Twitter, V_Axie, or go to NFT_God and just learn about how Twitter ranks your tweets. And Luke Martin said the Pulse Hex ecosystem is by one of the strangest parts of crypto. I think he made a typo. The PulseX market cap, $15 billion. Dr. Evil voice. Hex market cap, $16 billion. Pulse market cap, $30 billion. 3 coins that would be in the top 10 by market cap, but they don't trade on major exchanges and they aren't listed on CoinGecko. Why, how, what? Understanding impermanent loss. So I was talking about that incentive token earlier. You get the incentive token by being an LP, a liquidity provider. The downside of being a liquidity provider is something called impermanent loss. So if you're totally new to DeFi and you know nothing about impermanent loss and yield farming, but you want that incentive token, this is a great thread for you. I'm just going to shout out this Twitter user. I'm not going to go through it all. DEVA0X. Check him out. I'll give this guy a follow. It was a good thread. But if you're new to DeFi, you need to probably read this. You need to learn about this. And now I want to leave you with a clip of Richard Hart from years back, a live stream, talking about Ethereum. Okay, and Pulsechain obviously is very tied to Ethereum. If you made it this far, comment incentive token in the comment sections below. I appreciate you giving me guys a chunk of your day. I don't take it for granted. So let me know you've made it this far in the video by commenting incentive token in the comment section below. All right, enjoy this Richard Hart clip.
When we talk about like why I think Ethereum's more secure, it's never had an inflation bug. Bitcoin's had 2, and it sounds like
Ethereum is an inflation bug. I mean, the supply is not predictable. They can change it, so it doesn't have. It's like, you know, I live in Switzerland now, and they say that Switzerland doesn't has an army because Switzerland is an army. So it's the same with inflation bug and Ethereum. You cannot have an inflation bug in a currency which is designed to inflate without any kind of cap based on the decision of a centralized committee.
There's a very important difference between the inflation bug, which you're describing, which is it benefits everyone equally the same. You're just changing the rate at which it inflates, more or less, right? I mean, maybe the miners are slightly advantaged, but they're trying to kill them off entirely. So how advantaged is that? They're trying to destroy them. They've already given the miners a pay cut, and they're trying to get rid of miners entirely, with proof of stake, and they're crippling them on the way there with changing proof of work to get rid of ASICs. Like, this is a lot of anti-miner behavior. So I would say that type of change of which you're speaking, which is a community decided, and you would say, it's too centralized, but I don't think it is. But even if it was, it benefits all the participants roughly the same, whereas the inflation bugs we're talking about in Bitcoin only advantage the hacker, right? And it's not fair to compare those two things.
So I'm trying to keep not maximalist here, so I'm making an effort. A past me would have said that maybe some insider in the foundation deciding for a monetary issuance schedule change may profit from this change if they know that in advance, because they are just a bunch of insider speaking by phone. But that is the old me.
I mean,
me actually agrees with you. Actually, you are like what you're creating basically something very centralized, like you have, or somebody for you has the control of an address that actually gets a copy of every reward. So basically you can get
bonuses.
Yeah, basically that will control minimum 45% of the total supply indefinitely.
35 is the models that I show. So at low, 35 to 39 is the models that I did. So let me to
39
in the models that I did.
That's good, right? Because you were saying you need a centralized guy that can be held accountable, because it's bad to have Satoshi disappear because you don't have anybody accountable. While you are the whale that every so there's a nuance here. You're not anti-whale.
No, I'm anti-old whale. I'm pro new whale.
You're for the new whale.
Exactly. So we're not socialists.
Your whale punishment function in the code will punish only the old whales, or will also punish your 39% supply control.
I'll go over all of this, like total transparency. I don't mind talking about all this stuff. So the difference, you have to understand the difference between economic centralization and network centralization. Network centralization breaks censorship resistance. So that's bad, right? Economic centralization can be very good. It depends on the behavior of the hegemon. Hegemon's like a fancy word for like person that has the most of a thing. So if you look at the price performance of Lumens, they had 80% of their supply in a foundation, and they went from nowhere to top 10 cryptocurrency and made everyone a lot of money and handed out a lot of free coins along the way, and yet is totally centralized from a network perspective and totally centralized from a, everything's in the foundation perspective. And it worked fine, right? Other things like XRP, if you look at their price performance, they went up like 433x in 2017 with, I think, 60% of their supply in the hands of a foundation. And I dare you to
make... So whales are good if the whales are smart and they behave good. So you will be, or somebody appointed by you will be the new whale, and it will be good because you are... so
I can't give expectations. I can't give expectations because the high test and the security laws. I can just point to you to other coins that have done very, very, very high ROI in very short time frames with high...
So let's say you convince me. So, you're right. We need a responsible Satoshi stepping up like you do in order to be the good whale, controlling the half of the supply, let's say 39. So why limit yourself to 39? Why can't you just, if that's good, why can't not you go to 90% and just play the central bank and control everything? It would be, so I could create a better version of X.
If you care about ROI going up, so here's the way, so the design intention of Hex is maximum ROI appreciation. That's its design. That's its primary thing. It got a bunch of other things auxiliary just because they helped that, right? So it's the world's first blockchain CD. Well, that's cool, right? And it pays miners less. Okay, that's cool. And it has all these other really amazing things in it. But really, to me, those only matter as much as they help the price appreciation, right? And so how do we get the price to go up?
designing it in order to go up in price fast, guaranteed. So
no,
the design,
there's no guarantee. Like, no,
no guarantee.
It could go to zero.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? Like, human beings decide on this.
Because I think I've seen on the website something like it's designed to go up. It's math, and so you were very sure when you built the website about the. Well, let's say you don't guarantee it, but it's designed to go
I tell you what's
to give
possible.
some kind of performances. Yeah.
I tell you what's possible. I tell you the design attention. I tell you the features which should, lean on human emotion to cause that to happen, and then it may never work, right? Like Bitcoin's up over 750,000x right now, from a penny to $7,500. In 2017, it was up 2 million x. It's designed to do more than that. And Bitcoin has two fundamentals. It had a double click in EXE to get freemium coins, like a coupon, right? So it had freemium onboarding, like a free to download casual game. Bitcoin used to have that. And it had a fundamental on the economic side, which is not in the white paper, that the inflation rate would drop in half every 4 years. So Bitcoin has two fundamentals, freemium and reducing inflation rate. But the actual inflation was very, very high. No one realizes this. We're at around 4% inflation now, after the inflation's dropped in half twice over 10 years. Well, 4 times 2 times 2, well, that's 16% inflation earlier on, right?
Oh, so okay. Sorry, if I interrupt you just a second.
No, go
back to the design. So you design Hex in order to go up and give, hopefully, if everything works as expected, to give some kind of returns. Like you said something like possibly